Today's lesson will be based around chemical science, and today we will be observing the concept of matter. So do you know what the topic of matter might be about?
Matter is any object that has a mass.
That's a great answer. Does this mean all objects are matter?
Yes, because every object would contain some sort of mass to them.
Correct. That is a great answer. So that means a brick, water, air, and even yourself is made up of matter. So from your prior knowledge, you should know about solids, liquids, and gases. Before we move on, we'll do a brief review about these concepts just to get our minds on the job. Gases, liquids, and solids are all made up of atoms, molecules, and ions. But the behaviour of these particles differ in the three phases. Particles in gas are separated, vibrate, and move around freely. Liquids, the particles are close together, move around, but slide past one another. Solids, the particles are tightly packed, usually in a regular pattern. They vibrate and jiggle but do not move around from place to place. Today we will be learning how a substance can exist in different states of matter depending on their temperatures. Okay, so when we do the experiment, this bowl will be hot, and it is important that you do not touch the object because it will burn your hands. If you do place your face over it, it will burn your face because the steam will be hot that's coming off it. Okay, so I'll pour the water into here. It is actually your job to tell me which of these are states of matter.
Okay, the ice cube will be the solid, the water will be the liquid, and the steam will be the gas.
That's a great answer. Now that you have identified the states of matter, what is steam?
Steam is hot air.
Okay, that is actually a misconception that many of us get confused with. Yes, steam is hot, but steam is actually water vapour. How did you determine which object was the solid or the liquid?
I figured this not only by observing the objects, but I applied the information that ice molecules are colder than water ones, and I know that ice is colder than water.
Okay, that's good that you've observed the objects this closely. However, the information you have applied is actually a misconception. Ice molecules actually have less kinetic energy than water molecules. So if we look at each individual object and their state of matter, it is important that we can explain what the molecules and particles in each of the objects are doing, as the next experiment will involve in the next lesson. So in each of the states of matter, what are the particles doing?
Solid, they are very tight, they vibrate and jiggle and do not move around.
That's a good answer, well done. What about the liquid?
Liquid, they are closer together but they move around passing each other.
Yes, and the gas, how does it change?
Gas, the particles are further apart and they vibrate and move around more freely.
That's a great answer, very good comprehension of the content. Now that this is understood, what can we move on to? We can move on to the next phase of the lesson. What happens to each of the states of matter when they change temperature?
Based on what we've learned through the previous experience, when the temperature is changed for this ice cube, it will melt and become a liquid and change phases. This means that when the temperature changes for this object, the molecules will start to move instead and become more spread instead of being very tight and not moving like they are when they're in the state of a solid.
This is a great answer. So now we'll demonstrate this. If you'd like to pick up the ice cube as the solid and place it into the hot tray. Well done. Okay, so as you can see here, the solid object is actually melting and the molecules are moving around and becoming more spaced out. This is due to the kinetic energy of the molecules, and the temperature has raised, and it's in making sure the kinetic energy is getting it around and they're moving, passing each other, going into the liquid. And then once they go into the liquid, they'll move more freely and turn into the gas eventually once that temperature rises. Okay, so for today we have run out of time for our science lesson, but next lesson we will be doing another experiment that we'll use thermometers to make sure we can identify the actual temperatures that the states of matter will change, and we'll investigate this more in depth. Okay, thank you for your listen.
Thank you.